Bouillabaisse is often referred to as the nectar of the sea. It's a rich and hearty seafood stew, and some say that it's only fresh seafood from the Mediterranean that will make a true bouillabaisse. For me, I've always found the simplicity and ease of this recipe to be the attraction. Wait till you see how easy it is to prepare and how wonderful it looks when it's completed. The recipe calls for rough chopped vegetables, and that's one of the things I like about preparing this meal. I don't have to take a lot of time in chopping these vegetables. It's basically a 1, 2, 3. We begin with 1/2 cup of white onion. I'm not even crying yet. This onion's not so bad. Put them on the side. Same measurement for our celery. So 1/2 cup of celery. Same idea, rough, large chunks of celery. You can also cut the celery on an angle a bit. That will add an additional texture and a different appearance in the vegetables. And now finally, 5 leeks. I'm only going to use the white portion of the leeks. Leeks are similar to onions, but a little bit sweeter. I'll just start by trimming off these ends. I've cleaned the leek already. We'll lose all of this. And I better not do them all at once. I'll take them 3 and then 2. When you get to the end of the leeks, I'll save them, put them aside, and I can make a great vegetable stock. Now they're still in a ring form, but when I open them up, you'll see that these are going to be nice pieces in our bouillabaisse. With the rough vegetables chopped, I'm going to move on and show you some additional ingredients that I've already chopped ahead of time. 5 tablespoons of chopped Italian parsley, 5 tablespoons of a curly parsley, 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped oregano, great herb, smells wonderful, and 7 cloves of crushed garlic. Don't forget the zest of 1 orange. This is going to give it a nice flavor as well. Our bouillabaisse also calls for 6 skinless, seedless tomatoes. Now, let's spice things up a bit. The seasoning for this recipe is very important. 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of crushed black peppercorns, 1 teaspoon of saffron. Saffron is the stamen from a crocus flower, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I like to place my spices into a bowl and mix them up. This creates an even distribution of the spices when we actually go to cook the bouillabaisse. The seafood you select for your bouillabaisse is often the key to its ultimate success. For this recipe, I'm using bay scallops, jumbo shrimp, calamari, mussels, and little neck clams, plus fresh British Columbia salmon and also monkfish. Ultimately, you're trying to assemble about 5 to 8 cups of fresh seafood. If you've never used monkfish, you're in for a treat. It's also known as the poor man's lobster. So try a piece of lobster, try a piece of monkfish, and then tell me if you can tell the two apart. It's very difficult. And now on to this gorgeous piece of salmon. I'll just cut it in the middle. And then also cut it into 1 or 2 inch pieces. And when it cooks, it'll leave it with nice chunks of the various types of seafood. This salmon is just beautiful, and the reason I enjoy cooking with salmon, especially in a stew, is that it doesn't fall apart and break down in the pot. You'll see when I present this meal that the salmon will remain firm and perfectly cooked. And now with our last piece of salmon cut, we're ready to start cooking our bouillabaisse. 5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil are heated on a medium to high heat, and now I add our rough chopped vegetables, the leek and the white onion and the celery. Here's a little tip. You could also put in a 1/4 cup of chopped fennel if you want to add a licorice taste. I'm going to allow these to cook for a few moments just until they become translucent. Now that the celery, leeks, and onions are somewhat translucent, I'll add the 7 crushed garlic cloves, the chopped Italian and curly parsley, and also the oregano and the orange zest. Give it a good stir. Make sure everything's well blended. Excellent. Ooh, a wonderful orange aroma is now coming out of this pot. Excellent. Next, we use this nifty little kitchen gadget. It's a vegetable sieve, and it fits snugly on the side of the pot and will allow us to put in our tomatoes And with a little bit of noise and a little bit of effort, you can see that these tomatoes are now going into the bouillabaisse pot. Excellent. I'm just going to remove this quickly. Now you can see that the tomato has added a nice liquid, and those vegetables just blend well with the tomato. This is the perfect time to add our spices. So in go those blended spices. Color's changing a little bit because of the paprika. The aroma is just so tempting. Good stuff. Okay, tip of the day, a can of tomato paste. And you just spoon the tomato paste in with the vegetables. Now we're going to add 2 cups of clam juice. 2 cups is approximately 2 of the small bottles, and also 5 cups of water. And as you can see, it's important, again, to blend all of these ingredients with the liquid. We've come to a critical moment in this recipe. Now we add the seafood. Adding the jumbo shrimp, they go right into our pot. The bay scallops, excellent. The calamari, all of these gorgeous clams and mussels. I'm just going to pour those in. Good, excellent. And finally, the salmon and monkfish. The trick to making sure that the pieces of seafood come out in one piece is to give this stew a thorough stirring now, because once I put the lid on, you can't touch it at all for about 45 minutes while it cooks. And final ingredient is 1, 2, 3 bay leaves. Put the lid on your pot. Bring the pot to a boil and then turn it down to simmer for 45 minutes. And you've got to listen closely because I'm only going to say this once. Do not, absolutely do not, under any circumstances, you cannot touch this pot for the 45 minutes. The smells are going to make you run into the kitchen. The aromas are going to make you want to taste this right away, but you can't do it. Leave it alone for 45 minutes, but watch what happens when I present it for your pleasure. And now the moment has come, a chance to see, smell, and of course taste our bouillabaisse. Make sure when serving it, include all of the different seafood. The clams, the mussels, the salmon, the monkfish, the calamari, the bay scallops, and of course, the jumbo shrimp. I'm garnishing with a piece of lemon. I'm going to enjoy a glass of French Chardonnay and a big hunk of French baguette, which I'm also going to dip into this luscious and tasty nectar. This nectar of the sea, a bouillabaisse stew sure to leave your friends with a lasting impression of a wonderful and enjoyable recipe. All the best.